Hey everybody, Marc here, Tech Stack. I want to talk a little bit about conversational intelligence. There's some features that are built into Microsoft Teams calling, Teams phone that many customers may not know exists. There's a number of use cases where you might want to integrate your phone call activity with your CRM platform. Obviously, an example would be in sales where you have your sellers making outreach through phone and you want to track phone activity, but also may want to track the outcome of the call. And that is typically the realm of something called conversational intelligence, which quite often you would need a third system to do. So you need your CRM, your calling system, and sometimes that calling system might have a conversational intelligence capability. But Microsoft has all that built in. And so I'll show you a couple of use cases and some of the capabilities of this platform as an alternative to some other calling platforms that you may think of using or are using today, like the Gongs or even RingCentral and Zoom and all these other things that are out there. So here I'm using my sequence engine here, but here I have the sequence engine telling me who I need to call today. So I have a bunch of names, 10 names. I got to get through them all. And you can see in this grid, I have basically in row, I can just click any of these phone numbers and I'll start dialing. You can see my little console over here. And I can start dialing. I won't do that because this is live and I'm actually going to end up calling somebody who's on this list. But let me just take an example of a call that I did have in the system. So here's what a call record will look like from Teams. And you can see all these elements of conversational intelligence sitting here. You got the overview of the call. You can tag calls, who's attended. This would be an actual contact if I had saved it as such when I dialed. How long the call is. 3 seconds in this case was the longest monologue, probably somewhere around here. You've got all the participants on the call, me and the person I called, and you can see all who's talking. So typically, for example, in sales, you would want to have a predominant listen mode where the seller is asking questions and garnering a response. So in this case, I didn't do a very good job because the person I called talked very little. And then it will also interpret your sentiment. So if it's a positive, neutral, or negative. In addition to that, you have the full transcript. So this is the full transcript of a call, which is pretty interesting. And that information is used for notes. So here you have suggested notes, including action items and for follow-up. And we also have this concept of mentions. So you imagine how powerful this would be. So you have keywords. So a keyword could be a competitor, or maybe it's a specific problem that would trigger some sort of response, or maybe it's a positive outcome that would trigger another kind of positive response, like setting up a new opportunity or a demo date or something like that. But you can capture, or it does automatically capture all these mentions for you. So this is pretty cool. So it'll go through, it'll show you all the calls as a sales manager. In the case of the sales use case, you can go back and listen to all the positive calls or negative calls. If one of your people need coaching, you could help provide some of that coaching. All that information is right there for you, which is fantastic. This also has an application in service delivery businesses where you're talking to customers, or there's a support element or a follow-up element where you want to capture some of that information as well. Now, what's really, really cool about this is that you can combine all this information, because all of this is sitting in something called Dataverse. All this information can be consumed by agents. So here I have a conversational and insight agent that I built in Copilot Studio that would actually come out, and I asked it to basically draw out any specific issues that it's hearing on calls, and you can train it to be very, very specific. So you can make that available in your agents. And what an agent can do is kind of trigger actions. So the presence of a certain mention can trigger an action, either highlighting to a manager, or maybe creating an email that sends certain type of information to the recipient of the call for follow up, things like that. This information can also be consumed by Power BI and Fabric because they have native integration, either using SQL or native integration to Dataverse, and you could use that information to draw up trends that you're seeing in some of your calling. So whether or not you have 2 callers or 100 callers in your organization, some really, really good technology in here that will integrate not only to your CRM, but also to Copilot for agentic AI, as well as Power BI.